Well, good morning. It is indeed a pleasure to be here with you here in the Asher Avenue corridor here in the city of Little Rock. We're here today as we share an update on our Asher Avenue revitalization plan, as well as our south of 630 and east of I-30 economic incentive package. Today, I'm joined by City Director Ken Richardson, as well as the Chief Executive Officer of the Central Arkansas Water, Tad Bohannon, Hal Anderson, the Chief Operating Officer of Little Rock Water Reclamation Authority, as well as Jamie Collins, our Director of Planning and Development. All of these individuals here today have played a vital role in the Asher Avenue revitalization plan. If many will recall, back in August of 2020, in the height of the global pandemic, we announced a need to truly focus on south of 630, east of I-30, and an intentional, equity-driven way for economic development, as well as having a plan to address blight and a lack of economic activity on Asher Avenue. We announced that plan with many of these members here today, as well as Chancellor Christy Drell with UA Little Rock, who has a vital interest as well with their UA Little Rock plan for Asher Avenue in total tandem together. So this truly has been a labor of love over the past year to get to this point where we're seeing lots of economic activity south of 630, east of 30, but also we're addressing criminal activity when we see vacant buildings like the old now being demolished at this very moment. Advanced Auto, that has been vacant since 2007. 13 years, this building has been vacant. It has been a criminal center. It has been a haven for negative homeless encampment and creating negative things from this particular area. And we are focused on not only addressing this blight, addressing this issue, but also bringing back economic activity to this corridor, as well as south of 630 and east of I-30. This is what it means to truly focus on growth and transformation in a city, in an area that needs, because of the equity and focus that we have, more development. Because of those economic activity incentives, we've waived close to $800,000 in building permit fees, water fees, as well as water reclamation fees to ensure that we drive more development, because this area needs more development right now. And so we're excited for our partners with Central Arkansas Water. We're excited for our partner, Little Rock Water Reclamation Authority. And we're excited for the leadership of Jamie Collins, our Director of Planning and Development, taking the lead to ensure that we have focus. And over the past year, since August of 2020 and to now, when we look at economic development, the number of new building permits, the number of new economic activity, 55% of the last year was in south of 630 and east of I-30. That's because we've been intentional about equitable economics. And that's what helps drive down crime. That's what helps bring a greater quality of life and place in the entire city. So whether you're in the south end, the east end, Asher, we want you to have the same economic development opportunities as Pleasant Valley, Chenal Valley, Midtown, and everything in between. That's what I'm talking about. From College Station to Chenal, economic development. And we have to be intentional about what we do. And this is a great example of when you are intentional about economic development in areas that need it, what can happen and how it drives down crime, but also uplifts economic activity for the community within. Today, I'll now have Tad Bohannon, the Chief Executive Officer of Central Arkansas Water, who's been a pivotal player in this operation, will come bring some comments. Tad?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. It's an honor and a privilege to be here today. You know, economic redevelopment is important to vital cities, but the intentionality that the mayor and the city board of directors have brought to the focus of this issue is also important to the viability and the sustainability of a healthy water system. You know, the infrastructure exists, the pipes are in the ground, but the redevelopment of areas so that the water is utilized and new meters are connected is vital to the economic sustainability, not just of the city, but also of Central Arkansas Water. And that's why we are proud to participate with the city in the redevelopment of these areas that in the past have had vacant buildings that are going to be repurposed or torn down, as we see behind us, and reused for another vital purpose within the community. And we're proud to participate that and really see the importance of that in our community. So for us, we've been waiving connection fees and installation fees. And so in this area, we've had about 34 new installations here, which is really critical to this area. And our savings have been around $16,000 for the economic developers in the area. Thank you very much. Mayor?
It's now my pleasure to bring another dear partner in this process, Hal Anderson, who's the Chief Operating Officer of Little Rock Water Reclamation Authority. Hal?
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, Little Rock Water Reclamation Authority has to recognize both Mayor Frank Scott Jr. and City Director Ken Richardson for the initially the vision of this plan and certainly their commitment to this plan. We have been excited and proud to partner with the City of Little Rock on this initiative. To date, we have waived some $90,000 of connection-related fees across the opportunity zones, which has resulted in just over 200 new customers for us. The Little Rock Water Reclamation Authority sees this as clearly a win-win situation. First, to see the buildings that were no longer of use being demolished and replaced with new customers, that's a benefit for us. And then the fact that we have existing infrastructure within those areas that is underutilized, and to be able to add new customers and utilize that infrastructure is also a plus for us. So we look forward to a continued partnership with the city on this in years to come. Thank you.
We now have here today City Director Ken Richardson. He represents Ward 2. We're actually in Ward 1. This area used to be in Ward 2. City Director Ken Richardson has always worked in this area with a number of different community groups. City Director Virgil Miller was not available to come today, but he is committed to this area with his ward. We're grateful for his work. We know he just recently was appointed to the City Board of Directors some 3 weeks ago. He's off and running, and as you know, he has a banker's background, so he's very focused on the development of this area as well. And so we share our appreciation to him and his commitment to this vision of Asher revitalization, as well as south of 630, east of I-30 economic incentives. Now we have a brief word from City Director Ken Richardson.
Good morning. You guys noticed you said brief, so he knows I like to speak a lot. Those of you guys who have been working with me know that this kind of effort is near and dear to my heart. I keep hearing us talk about improving the economy of this area, but I think we also, much like we did with 12th Street, and hopefully we'll be able to extend the 12th Street revitalization boundaries down to Asher Street. It has a direct focus on working with the community rather than doing something for or at the community. To that end, we're not only doing that, we're looking at infrastructure revitalization, we're looking at human capital revitalization. We're giving people opportunity who've grown up in these areas to be a part of bringing these areas back to life so that they can have that sense of accomplishment. And I think that there's a lot of work to be done. I want to thank the mayor and our partners for being here to help us, assist us with this, because I think the mayor made a great point that back in 2008 when I was looking at doing a resolution on foreclosures, one of the things I found interesting doing my research was that if you have a certain increase vacant structures or buildings, you can expect a certain increase in criminal activity. That's data, that's factual, actual, it's not my opinion. It was something that we found through our research in doing that. And this is a great way for us to address this, because we had a lot of criminal activity emanate from this building. And this building is a major gateway to the Asher Street corridor. And there's so many opportunities for us to do public sector investment, but mainly private sector investment. We already have a couple of small community-based minority-owned businesses that want to establish their businesses right here on this very location. They're located in other parts of the city, but they have an emphasis on trying to help locate and relocate their building and hire people from the community to help run those businesses. So I think that's always critically important. And we also have some other public sector opportunities. We have 2 gas stations that have been closed for as long as I can remember. There's money available at the state level for brownfield assessment and cleanup grants. So maybe we could look at assessing some of those grants employing people who are disconnected, adults and youth, also ex-felons, to help us assess those properties, and if they have been contaminated, cleaning them up to make them environmentally more susceptible more susceptible for revitalization. And we're not just looking at aesthetic revitalization, we're looking at infrastructure revitalization, has been indicated by our partners before me. So I want to thank all you guys for being here, being a part of this, and I see some of our community partners who have been a part of the 12th Street work, and some of other community partners have been doing work that's not on the radar screen, but actually trying to help improve their own community, not sitting back waiting on somebody to do something for them in their community. They're doing it themselves, they're taking ownership of it. And to that end, I can assure you they'll take ownership of this, Mayor. This used to be Ward 2, and it is Ward 1 now. I'm sorry that Director Miller couldn't make it here, but Astor Street has a long history, long history, and most of it has been negative. We're changing that. We're changing that by what we're doing here today, and other parts of Astor that Mayor's been looking at revitalizing. At one point in time, Astor Street ran all the way past the Kroger's on Colonel Glenn, but because of the name association, west of University, they changed Astor to Colonel Glenn. That used to be Astor Street. For those of you guys old enough to remember that. What we're going to be doing here, Mayor, what we're going to try to do here is bring this back up so much, so greatly, they're going to want to change Colonel Glenn back to Astor. That's my promise, and that's my willingness to do what we can do to help work and improve this area. Mayor, you know this is near and dear to my heart. Hopefully we'll be able to extend the 12th Street boundaries south enough to Astor, where we have one comprehensive revitalization project rather than projects are operating out of silos. So we all can be reading from the same book, singing from the same hymn, and being on the same page. So thank you guys again. This is near and dear to my heart. Mayor, I'm pleased that we're able to move forward with this. I see some of our 12th Street partners out there as well. We're pleased to have you guys here and be willing to be a part of this. So I think the one thing, Mayor, that I really always like when you say unite Little Rock, I think people kind of couch it in narrow confines. I think everything you talked about today, equity, economic development, infrastructure, those are the things you're saying that we want to see happen south of 630. Unfortunately, a number of people think in our city, we have two cities within the city, and that boundary is 630. And I think what we're trying to do now is address that misperception and reality for some in real, deliberate, proactive, strategic ways. Mayor, I know you said brief, but it's windy out here, and I'm windy to be in lockstep with the wind that's blowing behind me. But this is what I think the mayor says when he always talking about unite. And one thing, Mayor, I also want to give you props for is whenever we talk about efforts like this, and when any one of us try to congratulate him personally, I always comes back and says teamwork. Teamwork. I could have called him if I wasn't here and called him Mayor. Thank you for that. Teamwork, Director. He does that personally and publicly, and that suggests to me that we all know that we can get much more done if no one cares who gets the credit for it. So with that, Mayor, I'm briefly going to step away.
Director Richardson, we're grateful for your teamwork. And as we talk about team, I want to take some time to really just recognize Director Jamie Collins, who, as we shared a vision on being intentional with economic development, we crafted policy to figure out how to get it done. But what you see behind me doesn't happen without intentionality. It doesn't happen without proper planning. It doesn't happen without execution. This is the opportunity of what we're doing right now to focus on areas that have not been traditionally paid attention to, that have been unserved and underserved. And anytime you have a planning and development leader that's ready to take that vision and bring it towards execution, it's a great day. So I now want to bring to the podium Director Jamie Collins.
Thank you, Mayor, everyone. I do realize this morning it's a little chilly, a little windy, and we're here looking at what I would consider the last in line of remediation efforts of a property. Demolition is not what we seek. Remediation is what we seek, and I would like to focus on some numbers and some properties in this corridor that really brings forth that the city is really trying to work with
property owners to revitalize this area. When we originally set this area to look at, the corridor we was looking at was from Woodrow Street west of Fair Park. That was our start of doing this process. In there, we designated 18 properties in that corridor that we sent letters, communicated, and physically met with property owners to talk about their plans for the property. What were they planning to do over the next 5 or 10 years? Out of that, 4 properties have been actively working with the city in remediation efforts for that. And of course, as you see, the one property behind us is the one that we are actively seeking the demolition of. So out of those properties, I would like to bring forth 3 properties specifically where they are working with the city. One of them is 5118 West 33rd Street, I'm sorry. That property had fire damage, and we contacted the property owner, and they were in the process of selling it and wanting to revitalize the building. So they did sell that property, and we contacted a new property owner, and we worked with them on revitalization of that building, of the repair of the fire damage, and installing new garage doors and getting that business back up and running. Another property, 3004 Lewis, we contacted the property owner. They had plans to try to rejuvenate the building, but in looking at the building and the costs, they entered into discussions with us and worked with them, and the individual demolished that building for their property, and are actually looking at new opportunities to try to bring new building onto that property, but we have not seen anything as of yet. Another property is 3900 Asher. The owner of that property contacted us after we was trying to send letters and emails out to them, and we just discussed, the look of the building, the look of the property, and they are actively trying to repair the property. Is more cosmetic in nature, and just pick up the trash of the property and just get the property looking good. And that is essentially what we're looking for, working with the property owners in the corridors, in this incentive area, to bring up the property. And so with that, Mayor.
Thank you so much again. Today's event is about providing an update on how the progress that we've seen with our Asher Avenue revitalization plan, as well as an update with our south of 630, east of I-30 economic incentive package. This is a great day of being intentional about equitable economics. It's a great day about focusing on infrastructure development and bringing back to life a community, but also addressing community violence and homelessness at the same time, and how we uplift this area of the city, which also what it does, it helps to create a better entire city together as we focus on unity, growth, and transformation. We'll now take a couple questions.
When do you think this process is going to be completed behind you, and either something new will spring up or the demolition will be completed?
Process of when it'll be completed.
Oh, are we specifically talking about the demolition and removal of this? I would anticipate that probably by this Friday the building will be down, and they'll be sorting through the trash and debris. So I would say in general about the end of next week they would have the majority of the property cleaned up, barring the holiday season that comes in. So this is no longer than probably about another week and a half process for total cleanup.
Any more questions?
Has anybody or any business have decided to come into the community to land a business here, or are we working with the Chamber of Commerce to do anything as well?
Well, there's already been, of course, as you know, in certain business, you can't share the name of the business, but there is at least a couple businesses that are looking to locate here that we've been in conversation. I know specifically has been a conversation with both City Director Ken Richardson and I have had. But that's kind of a non-disclosure type of deal from that standpoint. We will be working with the Little Rock Chamber and charging them to focus on this particular area, which they are focused on south of 630, east of I-30, along with the entire city. But that is a focus of them. And I have charged many different developers to look at this area as well. So we expect to see some development here here in the near future.
And can you talk about the time frame, maybe 3 years, 5 years, something big?
Well, we hope sometime soon. We never want to put a timetable on it. Briefly.
Just to that question, Dr. Tatum, I think there are a number, as I said before, small, community-based, minority-owned businesses already ready to locate here. I think we just have to figure out the infrastructure and figure out the costs associated and what kind of support we're going to need. But I think that we do have some who are interested in relocating here and putting business in. I think what we have to do as a city is kind of redefine how certain parts of our city looks. Certain parts of our city has a disproportionate number of certain kind of businesses. So we're taking that into consideration. So I think that's the point you was getting at. We are taking that into consideration, that it's not going to be one type of business, one size fits all. It won't be the cookie cutter approach as we move forward. It'll be a different set, different types of businesses that you wouldn't see south of 630. So we're kind of trying to we're hoping to change the image, change the atmosphere, and change the appetite.
Last question. All right, thank you so much. Appreciate everyone.